In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a quiz through Google. Now I'm going to go up to New, and I'm going to go straight to Google Forms. Google Forms is great because it provides you with so many options and a great way to collect all sorts of data from your students. So I'm going to title it as Test Quiz. Even though I collect students' email addresses, I like to create a question for their name, also a question for the class period. If I teach multiple sections of the same class period, I want to be able to sort that data so I can look at how students are doing individually, by class, and as a whole. So I'm going to create a name question. I'm also going to make this question required. It's very important that you remember to hit the required button. Otherwise, students will potentially accidentally skip some questions. And then instead of adding a new type of question, I just duplicate that question so that I only have to hit the required button once. Now, you'll know that something is required by the star that is right here. So class period. Then I have to change it to multiple choice. And so on. I also want to make sure that I title my form so that it's very easy for me to search and find my quiz at a later date. Now, before I move on to start asking questions about my quiz, I want to go up to Settings. I want to make sure that I collect the email addresses from the students. That's a great identifier. I also want to make sure that I limit it to one response. If it's a quiz, I don't want students retaking it until they get 100%. I want to make sure that I get their first response so I know exactly where they're at in terms of their knowledge of the content that I'm quizzing on. Then I'm going to click Quiz, make this a quiz, and then it gives me options here. I can give them the grade immediately after submission. I can later manually grade something if, for example, I have some free response questions. I can allow them to see their missed questions, their correct answers. Again, I can play with this and tailor this to my needs and my students' needs. What's nice is if you're talking about providing instant feedback, you do have that option to give the students that information. I'm going to click Save, and then I can go in and create my quiz. Now, I can ask, again, I like to duplicate questions so that I have that information. And then I could make it true and false. Again, I'm trying to keep it pretty basic here. I can keep asking questions. Okay, let's say these are my two questions. I'm going to go to the answer key here. And I can determine how many points I want the quiz to be worth. If I want a question to be worth 5 points or just 1 point, I can select that. And then here, when I'm done with creating my quiz questions, I can create the answer key. So the sky is blue, that's true. I could add some additional feedback for incorrect answers. I could even provide some credible resources for my students. For example, for an explanation as to why the sky is blue, see NASA's website. And then I can hit Save. And now if the student gets that incorrect, they can link to other important information. So there's a lot of options here. And again, providing direct and specific feedback, this is a nice way to do it. Then I want to go to my answer key here. You do have to click the answer key and create it for each question. Again, I could write feedback. I could link some information. That's entirely up to you as to how you want to organize that. Now, if you want to make it look pretty, you can go up here to this color palette. You can change the colors. You can add pictures. They've got all these nice things built in for you. You can customize pictures if you want, or you can just keep it really simple. Also in quizzes, you can add pictures if you would like. This is a great feature for vocabulary. If you want a visual picture to go with your vocabulary, you can add things from Google Drive. So you've got all sorts of options here. You can add sections, so you could create multiple pages. You can insert YouTube videos. Again, this is entirely up to you, and you can play with that as well. Now, just to take a look at the responses. So, this is a quiz that I've already created. Now, with the responses, it tells me exactly how many people earned 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and so on. So I can see that, hey, my students did pretty well on this quiz. Because I like to have class period, that's just a chart there. But what it does is it tells you, how many students got a specific question correct. It shows the percentage here. So then you can really evaluate with your students how well they did. And sometimes I'll put this screen, because it doesn't have the students' names on it, I'll put this screen on the board, and then we can talk about the questions. We can talk about maybe why students put the wrong answer, and we can even go into the book and find the right answer together as a class. So again, providing that direct and immediate feedback is so helpful, and it's so visual for the students. Then, when I go to grade it, I will scroll up to the top, I will select this button, and then this screen will pop up. I blacked out students' names, but it's really easy to pull up this window along with Skyward in a second window, and then I can just toggle back and forth. I can alphabetize students' names so that it's literally just reading down the list and entering that into Skyward. It doesn't sync with Skyward, but again, it doesn't take too long if you create the 2 windows, and the answers are all right there. So if you have any questions, please let me know. That's how to create a Google quiz, and that's how to access that information as well. Good luck.